So we're back from the break, and Suzi's going to tell us a little story that happened. So, Suzi, tell us about that.
Recently, I was engaged by the City of Port Phillip to put on a live and local festival. As part of that festival, I was working with 4 venues in St Kilda, and about a week out of the festival, 2 venues had to pull out because of amplification. And this came up in our meeting, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But I'd like to tell you about what happened with the Live and Local Festival. I was quite distressed because it was going... I had 4 venues involved. The middle 2 had pulled out. Mm-hmm. I'm doing little things with my hands off screen. The middle 2 pulled out. And then... this was going to make the... part of my component of the festival looked terrible, basically. It was meant to go for a 10-hour period, and now I only had 1 gigs at the start, gigs at the end, nothing in the middle.
Oh.
Yeah. I rang one of our councillors, Andrew Bond, our Liberal councillor, and he went down to a venue and ensured our amplification could happen. And in a minute, me and Chris are going to talk about the issue of amplification.
Okay, we'll be right back. Anyway, here we are at the Gershom Room Bar, and Suzi's going to tell us a bit of a story about what happened recently. Tell us all about that.
Well, we did the Live and Local Festival.
Right.
So I was engaged by the City of Port Phillip to help host the rock component of their Live and Local Festival through 4 venues. As a part of that, and this is where the issue of amplification really reared its ugly head, 2 venues needed... The bands that were playing there wanted to pull out because presenting their music with that quality was unacceptable to them.
Right, yep.
Both of these venues are quite compliant with the noise restriction laws. They have all their licences in order. However, the pressure from outside bodies, such as liquor licensing, have been causing them to pull back on amplification.
Right.
Now, I asked the EPA on Wednesday their position on amplification, and they don't have one.
Yeah, they said that didn't factor into their plans.
No.
What that meant was, like, last week on social media, you put up an open-ended question.
That's right.
About musicians, guitarists specifically, about what kind of amplification is important and all that. I came back with it's deadly important. A Marshall, like a good Fender Twin or a Marshall stack is just as important as a nice
half the
Strat.
sound.
That kind of thing.
Basically.
However, there are sort of things where you can get modelling things where, you can have a helix, I believe is what it is, where you can plug it into a PA. But the thing is, it was interesting to me that they didn't have a position on that. No,
they didn't have a position. In fact, they said they did not care about amplification at all.
Which is interesting.
And that's where liquor licensing comes in.
So it's a bit of a handball.
Well, what I find funny, Chris, is when it comes to noise restrictions in venues, we have a lot of people monitoring us. We have the council, police, liquor licensing, the EPA, Department of Planning, it goes on and on. Why liquor licensing are involved in the monitoring of noise is beyond me. Surely this is an EPA jurisdiction. It's an environmental protection. They can license the liquor all they want.
Yes.
They shouldn't be licensing noise.
So we're back, and Suzi's going to continue on with the amplification issue.
Well, yeah, I think my main point out of the Wednesday meeting was it came down to, let's remove liquor licensing from controlling noise.
Yep.
I think that's really important. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things such as, people coming on the night and addressing the issue, because I don't think that limiters work at all. I think that their current philosophy is quite flawed in the way that they are measuring sound.
No, I know, I understand that. I mean, for those who don't know, a limiter is where, if you don't know what a limiter is, it's like a limiter on a guitar where you get to a certain point and that's where it stops. So you can also have that in venues as well.
It's one of the easy ways venues and the government have found to police live music, because by putting a limiter in, you can control the decibel readings, but it's not taking into account ambient noise. There's been cases of limiters being triggered by trams, and one of the venues that I work with is right out the front of Luna Park. There's trams, there's model restaurants, there's buskers playing drums out the front of their venue. Right.
How's that going? Yeah, it's
you
all
assess that unless you're a human?
Yes.
As to where the sound is coming from. To me, I find the whole thing a bit bewildering. One of the things non-effective and just lazy. People need to attend on the night and make an assessment. If they're going to be putting people's livelihoods, businesses, musicians, people myself that organise all that stuff into jeopardy, at least come and visit us on the night. Yeah,
no, exactly. One of the things is like, especially with things like when you've got the Grand Prix, sometimes when you're in the city, you can hear actually the cars from the opposite end because it's bouncing off the city walls. I used to be in the Essendon City Brass Band doing Anzac Day marches. And the thing is, when you're going down Swanston Street, everything, your snare drum's bouncing off the walls, but as soon as you get to an intersection like Collins Street and Swanston, everything just dissipates into nothing. And so it's, once again, the word subjectivity comes into it.
It's very interesting how noise travels, because another instance with a venue that I've got is, and they were measuring with their dB meters, and they'd have staff going around at regular intervals during the evening, and they'd go, a certain distance from the hotel. But then there's a certain frequency in drum bass level that travels and then bounces up.
Yeah, of course,
So how a normal small venue owner is meant to assess this is just like
you need big long drum fills and big sand boxes and stuff, like in a studio kind of thing. But it's just the dollars and the dollars, and it's the constant...
The complexity of actually putting on a live music event is becoming quite onerous, to say the least. So that's what we're trying to...
This is to be continued.
To be continued.
Yeah. So, Suzi, thank you for being on the show.
Yay.
There you go.
My pleasure.
No worries.
Let's keep fighting the good fight.
And Evan is Evan Rock Richards, Burn in Hell, isn't you? So there you go. That's Melbourne Musos, Gershwin Room, the SB, Suzi QP Dohl. I hope you enjoyed the information. I'll be doing a couple of things with decibel level meters and getting a little bit technical on what all this is about. 40 decibels, 60, 100 decibels, that kind of thing. So I hope you enjoyed the information, and this is to be continued. Okay, thanks for watching.